currently have. Obviously, we want to get rid of that. He's not going to attack, so remember, what do? We want to pump in as much damage as possible since he's not going to be doing damage to us. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. We have 4 mana. This is quite good to start with. Okay, this is perfect, actually. We get to weaken him for his next attack as well. So we're going to do this. I'm going to poison him to start proccing that. Sucker punch him, so that way he's weakened for 2 turns. And then we are going to just do a normal attack. This boss is very much a race against time. Whenever you proc this buff, called Mode Shift, he switches into defensive mode. And he does a lot less damage. You definitely want to get him to that point before he does this attack on you, because it's quite a lot of damage, and most of the time you can't really block against it this early in the game. So since he's poisoned, we're going to go ahead and Bane him, switches him, and then let's do as much damage as we could. See, it stopped his attack, and then he's changing forms. So let's do as much damage as we can here to him. And then this doesn't really do anything for us right now, so... So now, because he's in defensive mode, he adds a different buff to him, which is called Sharp Hide. Whenever we attack him, we take 3 damage. So unless we have the block to mitigate both that and his attack, we really just kind of want to wait out this form. The problem with that is if you don't really do any damage, he's going to switch back into his attack form, and it's going to be even stronger than last time. So that's why I called it a race against time earlier. So you really have to kind of pick and choose whenever you're going to do certain things against this guy. So here we definitely want to use both of these if possible. And I think that we will do that. So, because remember, this is going to give us 3 block, which is important. So we're going to take a little damage. We're not going to use burst no matter what, so... We're going to do Bane, and then we're going to use a defense card. We're going to wait to use this weak potion until he switches back into his main form. We actually might use it this turn, considering he's attacking twice. Weak debuffs are way, way stronger whenever they attack multiple times, because it makes each of those attacks worse. So like whenever we throw this on him, he's going to go from 8 to 6. And so instead of doing 16 damage, he's only doing 12 damage. So we can't really do that much to him. It's really good that we got Noxious Fumes so early in the game, because that's going to start... That doesn't make Sharp Hides proc on us. Because again, it's only whenever we play an attack, and that is not attack damage, it's just damage in and of itself. So this time, we really don't want to take more damage than we already have, so we're going to blur and do all of that, and we'll still have 1 block left over, which isn't that much, but... Okay, so now that he's switched back to attack, he no longer has Sharp Hide, so we can really just go in on him. We really want to stack up the poison more. This is quite unfortunate that we really don't have any way to block. I think I'm actually going to use this potion to draw 3 cards in hopes that we get some defense. Okay, that was actually fantastic. That was the perfect draw. Like that was actually the most perfect draws that we could have gotten. Okay, so he's back to having Sharp Hides. So let's just go like full defensive, because next attack's going to be stronger than the first one. And we can just keep adding up the weak. This attack's a little stronger. So we wanted to draw a card there, and then we discarded the Decay, which was going to damage us for 2, and it also gave us 3 blocks. That's like a 5 health swing. So that was very, very important. Spite is actually going relatively well for us. What is really cool, in normal mode, once you beat the first axe boss or the second axe boss, there are 3 acts in the game. Whenever you beat each axe boss, you go back to full health no matter what in the normal mode. So it doesn't matter if we win this fight with 1 HP or 50, because whenever we start the next act, we're gonna go back to max health. So we'll be at 70 out of 70, which is, we can be a little more liberal with our health. As long as you kind of know the bosses, you can kind of stretch and push your limits a little bit further, just knowing the in and outs of each boss. Knowing that you'll go back to full health once the next act starts. So really, we don't have to do anything crazy here. So he's taking 23 health this turn, and then he's gonna take 24 next turn. So because each turn poison goes down one, so it'll go down to 22, but then Noxious Fumes is going to apply 2 more, so it'll go back to 24. So that's going to be 47 damage. So all we have to do is do, you know, 3 more damage, and we basically set up 2-turn lethal. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to use a strike on him and then just defend. We don't take any damage here, and then he's guaranteed to die here. So we can literally just end the turn and he's dead. So that was quite good. That went a little better than I expected. So between these, I don't think Doppelganger's that good. I think it's very clunky. At least I haven't found a way to make it work that well. Tools of the Trade is okay, and it works really well with tough bandages. Adrenaline, though, I think is just one of the best cards in the game. Adrenaline is just really, really freaking good. So an intent is seeing what the enemy is going to do, whether they are going to attack you or if they're going to defend, etc. Knowing that information really helps to determine what you are going to do on your turn. So Ruminant Dome, unless you're like way late in the game and you feel like you're invincible, is not that good. Philosopher's Stone is not that good because it makes the enemies, all the enemies have +2 strength. So if you're facing 3 enemies, they all do +2 damage. So that can really spiral out of control. And again, you don't want to be taking damage early in the act, because even though we're refreshing here and we're going to be at 70 health, we're going to be at the beginning of the act. So it's a really dangerous relic to choose. This one is potentially very strong because it lets us remove the rest of our strikes, and it could get us something that is extremely strong with this deck, or it could give us stuff that's, you know, whatever. So we're gonna do strike, strike, strike. And what do we get here? Corpse Explosion is fantastic in this build. Terror is okay. The upgraded version is a free card, so it's not bad. Basically, 99 vulnerable basically means they're gonna have vulnerable on them for the rest of the fight unless they have a way to purge it. So it's pretty good. Blade Dance is just whatever. You know, we're not going a Shiv build, but you know, it gives us, Shivs are 4 damage, 0 cost spells. So basically it's 1 mana for 12 damage. And before, remember, we replaced strikes, which were 1 mana, 6 damage. So we basically doubled the damage of a strike with that transform. This card works perfect with this deck. It's insane. If we have poison built up a lot on an enemy, we can use this on them, and it deals that damage ×3 to all enemies. So let's say you have 10 poison on an enemy, and if you use that on them, it does 30 damage to every single enemy. So it's an insane card with this deck. That worked out perfectly. I believe this boss, about the midway point, he does actually purge off stuff like debuffs. So he's actually going to purge off the poison that we do to him. So that it won't be that problematic because we'll just be able to, you know, reapply it. But we'll have to be a little careful with that boss. So again, what we want to do here is see if we can get multiple campfires. It looks like both of these routes have 2 campfires. This one lets us face an elite. I think that our deck is good enough to face an elite. And this actually gives us a 3rd campfire. That's actually crazy. So the choice really since we can kind of route it like that, do we want the extra minion fight with the shop, or do we want 2 question marks? I think we want the shop. We have 210 gold. That's quite a bit of money. So I think that's going to be the best route to go. Poison is very strong against this guy. He starts with 40 block, and again, poison goes through block. So what we want to do here is get rid of this. Adrenaline is fantastic. We don't need this because remember, he's not attacking, so we just want to lay into him as much as we can. Burst can be quite good, but there's really not a skill in our deck that we're gonna apply more than once. The thing with him, remember the gear is called Artifact, I believe, and it negates debuffs, and yes, that times 3, so we're probably not gonna be able to do too much to him. Blur is fantastic of a draw because it means next turn whenever he attacks us, we're gonna have block to work with, because remember the Blur card, it makes it so that the block is not removed at the start of the turn. So that's actually very important. What we want to do is get through those artifacts as soon as we can. So we're going to do this, and that puts it down to 2. We're going to play this card just to draw a card, see when we can get another thing that maybe debuffs him, and this is perfect. That removes another one, and then this removes a 3rd one. So we're already through them. That's really, really good. And then we just want to lay into him, so we're going to do that and play all shivs into him, and then end our turn. That was actually a pretty good turn. He has another buff called Barricade, which makes it so permanently block is not removed at the start of the turn. So think about Blur, and then make it so that instead of it being just 1 turn that applies, it's like forever. So Poison's very good against this guy for obvious reasons. So we already have Poison on him. It's going to do 11 damage. We have 17 blocks, so we don't really care. So let's do Bane, do 10 damage twice, because he was poisoned. He doesn't have enough poison to really think that this is good enough, so we're going to not do that. We have the chance of this giving us a poison card. Never mind. We actually know that we only have 1 card, so it's going to be a block, so... But discounting or discarding gives us another block. It doesn't matter, we already had enough anyway to block his attack, so if possible, we really want to kill him this turn, and I think we definitely can. He's at 12 damage, this does 6. And then this does 12, so we definitely have enough. Footwork is very good. As you guys saw last match, we had 6 of them, and it basically carried the crap out of us. Acrobatics is okay, because it works well with this. I still think footwork is superior. I think it's definitely better. Poison and blocking go hand in hand. Get rid of this one. So these guys, this buff, even though you can't see it yet, whenever they're flying, they take 50% damage, but if you get that counter to 0, and each attack lowers it by 1, whenever you get it to 0, they basically fall to the ground and they can take full damage, and they also lose their turn. So that is actually very important. So Blade Dance is insane here because it gives us 3 attacks for 0 mana. So we can basically, with 1 mana, guarantee that one of them will go to the ground. We can possibly get that by discarding... I want to keep our options open to use both of those defense cards, so... Okay, Footwork's very good. Footwork is a fantastic card to draw there. We're going to use that. We're going to Blade Dance. We're going to make one of them fall down. And again, we want to do it on the guy that we can kill the quickest. So we're going to do it on this guy. Make him fall down. He lost his turn. All we need to do is get 6 more block and we can fully defend against their attack. So let's start building up poison. I think that was the best play there. So these birds, what their buff does is simply make them have more strength, I believe. So that's why you want to kill them as soon as possible. So what we're going to do here, we can automatically kill him. But what we want to do here, if you have the option to draw, especially for no mana, you want to do that first because it just gives you more options with what you can do. Especially this one, this is going to give us 2 cards and it's going to give us an extra energy count. So we're going to use that. It's going to help us draw. And we have a lot more idea of what we can do here. So if I use Corpse Explosion, this is going to make it do 9 damage to all of them. I believe it will do less damage to these. I'm actually not certain what the how that will proc on these guys, because yes, it is an attack and they take 50% less from attack damage, but I'm wondering if the resulting damage counts as attack damage. So that'll be cool to see the interaction between that. Because if it does count as attack damage, that's gonna go down to 2. Okay, so it did count as attack damage. That's actually very good for us. That's actually very good for us, because that means we can proc another one of these guys to fall down. Okay, so we want to kill someone as soon as possible. Remember, these do 4 damage each. If we apply Tear, that's going to make them vulnerable, which makes them take 50% more. So 50% of 4 is 2. That means each of them are going to do 6 damage. So if we do it that way, we can do 18 damage to him, and he has 2 poison, so he's going to have 1 health left. So that's not enough. But if we Bane, we definitely kill him. So we're going to go ahead and do that. He's automatically dead. We're going to Blade Dance, tear this guy, and use all 3 shivs to make him fall down. And then we're going to use Blurge to have some block for next turn. So here we have a lot of options on what we can do to kill him. But I like seeing that big proc of damage. Bouncing Flask is what we are looking for. That is super good in this build. Especially whenever you upgrade it, it bounces more than 3 times. It is super good. Gilga.
Oh, 5 more minutes.
Gilga. Get up.
5
up.
more minutes.
Gilga, get the f up! It's time for comment of the day! Comment of the day? Yes, that's right. It's time for everyone's favorite show, Gilga's comment of the day. In this episode, we have a certain person called Cthulhu Kyle saying needs more wasted. Well, Kyle, that was me last night, so do we really need more of that? Probably. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until tomorrow, I will see ya!